Baci Sospesi, un progetto di Barbara Sbrocca.
So my story starts with my husband of 10 years and father of my 2 young children went on a conference. He worked in education, which was primarily women, and he went on these conferences quite a bit. And then he came back that Sunday evening and said, "I have to tell you something." And I said, "Okay." And he's like, "A woman approached me." And I'm like, "What?" This was not something that had happened in our marriage. We were a very faith-filled marriage. He had previously been a pastor. He was the love of my life, my soulmate. We met in college and had been together ever since. And so, when I asked him to pray for our marriage, he hesitated, and that had never happened before. And he told me how the woman had invited herself up to his hotel room, and he is very charming and flirty and kind, and so maybe a woman would take that as... And I said, "Okay, well, just don't talk to her anymore, right? We're going to be done with her." But 2 days later, he said, "She asked me for coffee." And a day later, he said, "Well, I just went to coffee with her just to iron things out." Then 2 days later, "Well, I just kissed her, but just once, just because." 5 days later, I'm watching this train wreck happen before my eyes, and he said he's falling in love with this woman. He thinks he's supposed to be with this woman. And I'm like, what is happening? I started having panic attacks. I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks, and that's also when the abuse started as well. The drinking, the drugs, the tattoos, the giving up on God, she's prettier, she's kinder, she's smarter, she's more intellectual, she's going to be a great mother to our children. Okay, this is just a blip. He's going to turn around, right? He's just having a little midlife crisis. Yeah. So we started to go to therapy. He would write her letters saying, "Please leave us alone." She would continue to stalk our home, stalk his work. And I felt like I was living in just such chaos of also trying to take care of a 3 and 5-year-old and try to save my marriage with a man who seems to be lost grip on who he was and what he wanted. And at one point I did say, "Let's move, let's switch jobs, get out of here. There's obviously something is moving in you and you need." And he asked for an open marriage. He asked for just kind of any kind of solution that wasn't leaving me. I came to a point where I think I just broke down in my brain. I just couldn't compute it anymore. He sat across from me at a restaurant, I remember, on one of our dates, and said, "You're just looking at this wrong. Just think of it as she's helping your husband through a hard time." And he was just saying, "Get over it, move on. We're just gonna, you just need to forgive me. This is on you. This is your fault. You didn't give me enough attention." Now remember, we were in the throes of young children, both working adults. We'd also had some very traumatic situations, which is maybe what kind of brought this up. We had medical conditions with both of our kids when they were born, which was stressful. We had dementia in my family that is hereditary that possibly could come. Other family situations. We were also, I was a whistleblower at a church that I worked at and was paid to be silent about that situation. And we lost all of our kind of church and faith community through that. I spoke up. Yeah, I could have been quiet and we probably still would have been there, but was that a good place for us to be when they were doing not great things, is all I'll have to say about that again. So there was a lot of things leading up to it, but again, I've seen a lot of therapists throughout my life, and there was a moment where she said, I want you to go read this book. It's the basics of verbal abuse. I was probably 3 chapters in, and I said, this is me. But this is also me before the affair. Because in my mind, I had always thought that the affair was kind of this catalyst of like changed him into this other person, and she's just bringing out this sort of evil. For me, it was really it was a different person. And I really blamed her for this, bringing this side out. Obviously, he is responsible. I realized that I had been walking on eggshells prior to her, before her, gave me the power and the confidence to say, this isn't you, and it's not going to get better. Right? Because I keep thinking, like, once she's out of the picture, we can repair this, we can move forward, we can fall in love again. You know, all these things you know, because I looked into affairs. I didn't know anything about them prior to this. I thought they were for people that, you know, never had sex, or people that never talked to each other. You know, you just kind of knew that this was happening, but that wasn't our case at all. This was my soulmate, my love, my forever person. And the cycle of abuse, you know, the honeymoon, I love you, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a crisis event. And the abuse happens, and then it starts all over. And I had to go through that cycle many times for me to be like, this is a cycle, right? But it was way more in my face at that point. It was just longly stretched out before the affair. Yeah. But it probably, even if she hadn't shown up, would have still not worked out. How I get into a relationship like this in the beginning is because I wasn't healed myself. And not that I deserved to be abused or anything, but, you know, I met him when I was 20 years old, and I was not the healthiest of young adults. I was pretty lost in my whole world, and I wasn't my best self when I got into that relationship, and I do need to own that and say, you know, my not healing, my insecurities, my play into this, that is a reason to be abused, like I said, but a reason why I might have not chosen to see those things the way I do now, because I have confidence in me and only need my validation and not the outward world. But that comes with time and wisdom. I mean, I don't want to go back to that, but there's obviously a reason why I kept showing up in that relationship. That was it. Our friends, everything I knew was wrapped up in that relationship, because we met when I was 20 and we grew up together. And so it was a moment of starting over and being absolutely terrified and also kind of relieved. And for me, the journey of discovering that I wasn't alone in something like this. So once I took off my wedding ring, you know, I knew in my heart that I want to be married. That's, some that's not for everyone. I totally get that, but for me, it's just I love having a partner in life. But I'm so fearful. So that fear that someone you know and love, or think you know and love, can change. So, I don't know if anyone else has done this in their love life, but honestly, I did write a list about who this person was going to hopefully come into my life. Maybe it was in a week, maybe it was going to be 10 years. I had no idea. So I did write a list of all the things that I said, I'm not going to mess around this time. Like, you got to be really mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. You need to love dogs. You need to love kids. You need to, a big part of my family is Ireland. You have to love Ireland. There was just a lot of those personal things that I was like, this is important to me, and that person will show up, and if they love me, they're going to love those things too. And that man walked into my life, and I still can't believe it. Especially in the church, when there has been a divorce, people don't really like that. They don't really like you. They think something's wrong. It must have been your fault. You're not taking care of your husband. There's something wrong with you if you're in the church, a church leader, and you're divorced. So this man who was also lover of Jesus, his wife had cheated on him, and so I don't know what's going to happen, but that was part of me stepping out and saying, I'm here, I'm willing to try again. I have hope in the world, the universe, God, whatever it is. I had gone to a friend's house that evening, and he texts me probably about 11:30 p.m. and says, I'm going to go for a drive. Do you want to go for a drive? And I'm thinking, who goes for a drive? And it's like March, and like I said, I live in a very cold environment. It's cold. I said, okay. So either this is the stupidest thing I've ever done, because I don't know this man, and he's going to pick me up at my house and know where I live, or it's going to be like the most romantic thing ever, right? We drove to a little diner, and I had some eggs. We talked till 8 in the morning at that little diner. We just kept talking, and he dropped me off at home. I think I took a short nap and a shower, and he picked me up, and we went out for the rest of the day. And we've been together more than 8 years now. So got married about a year and a half after that first original date, and he loves Ireland, and he loves dogs, and he loves my kids, and every single one of those. I do say I did make him take a couple personality tests before I agreed to anything real serious, just because I was like, what's your family like? What's your relationship with your mother? How do you deal with this situation? So I did do some grilling, maybe, but it didn't scare him off. It was so normal and consistent and kind, and it was so easy. Even after I think I was dating my now spouse, but we were just dating, and I just remember standing by the dishwasher. It's those moments, like the dishwasher, and just this wave of pain coming through, and I just like falling to the floor of like, I will never know that life anymore. And then it left. Sometimes I think, I wish people would just understand what I've been through. And I think they do, but it also, this was and is my life to live. I'm hopeful. I've since then traveled the entire world.
Baci Sospesi, un progetto di Barbara Sbrocca.